So here's the deal, I've never played a Far Cry game before, not a single one. So here I am starting with Far Cry New Dawn. Why? Because I've committed myself to this very stupid experiment. Can you become a fan of a game series by starting with the title most fans agree to be the worst one? And for Far Cry, a lot of fans point their fingers at Far Cry New Dawn. New Dawn. Released in 2019 as a standalone smaller sequel to Far Cry 5. It was criticised for being too short, too recycled, and too, let's just say, neon Mad Max. With a critic score of 71 out of 100 and a user score of 4.8, it makes me ask the question, does this game deserve the hate? Or is it the fact that it was developed by Ubisoft Montreal explain why it scored so low amongst fans? Look, I understand the Ubisoft hate, I really do. They release games with the same formula over and over. And while the titles they do create all end up being good games, they do feel as if they lack a little bit of heart and soul and are made to be more of a money grab than anything else. I mean, what are with these microtransactions? Are you serious? And hey, maybe the best way to appreciate a game series is to start at rock bottom. Now let's see if New Dawn made me want to delve deeper into the Far Cry series or if it made me want to Far Cry myself to sleep tonight. As far as I know, Far Cry is known for being a chaotic open world game with larger than life villains who are actually the main characters of each game. We have Gus Fring taking a break from cooking chicken to appear as the main villain in Far Cry 6, and Nacho Varga taking a break from eating chicken to be the main villain in Far Cry 3. New Dawn though seems a little different. It's set in the aftermath of Far Cry 5's nuclear ending. It recycles the same map, but also adds a neon pink spray paint and some light RPG mechanics. Think of it as Ubisoft's version of upcycled furniture. It's technically the same chair, but now it's hot pink. This isn't the first time this has been done with a Far Cry game. In fact, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon was on the exact same map as Far Cry 3, just heavily reskinned. And fans seem to have loved Blood Dragon and their 80s style action movie spin-off. So surely everybody would feel the same way about New Dawn, right? Right? Now, obviously going into this game, I had no idea about the events of Far Cry 5 and how that all ended. And while the intro is quite chaotic, I enjoyed how we were immediately thrown into the action instead of having a slow build-up. I was also super excited to see what the villain was going to be like in New Dawn, and we were quickly introduced to Mickey and Lou, the twins. And they're fine. Look, honestly, they are. They are intimidating in cutscenes, and clearly they are both psychopaths that can't be reasoned with, but they aren't exactly iconic. Their whole vibe is Mean Girls, but with machine guns. They work as antagonists, but if you compare them to what I've heard about Vast, then yes, it's safe to say that these characters are the store brand version. They just want to take over the world without any sort of reason. They even try to shovel in some pointless backstory to humanize them more. But when they are this crazy, it's hard to give a damn. Meanwhile, Joseph Seed returns from Far Cry 5, and as someone who hasn't played 5, I just saw a random cult dude who looks like Jesus who lives in the woods. But I can imagine for fans of 5 that it was either an awesome callback or just Ubisoft recycling old content again. As for us, we play as someone named the Captain, our matey. We seem to be some sort of hero that doesn't even have one piece of dialogue throughout the whole story. When I said the villains were the main characters, I meant it. Plenty of games have a mute protagonist, but to me, it just seems that some sort of communication would have been nice. We aren't just a random dude fighting in some war. We are the person that is trying to stop Mickey and Lou from killing everyone and taking over completely. And because we have no lines, we sort of just have to sit there in silence as these over-the-top characters spit out never-ending dialogue to us.
I'm going to kill your whole family and everyone you love.
To me, it seemed like the developers were trying too hard to mimic the Borderlands formula. That being every character is this bizarre human. Oh my god, this old lady is hilarious because she's old and silly.
I know what you're thinking. She's got the body of a 30-year-old, but a face like a scrotum that got left out in the sun.
There isn't a single character other than the main villains that stick out to me at all, and that's sad considering you only get to see the twins for a tiny portion of the game. Look, I don't want to talk badly about the story, but I sort of hated it. The long drawn out supernatural moments and the very predictable outcome just was not very impactful. Weird magical fruit that gives you superpowers? Sure, cool, whatever. I was far more interested in just blowing shit up than whatever moral drama was happening. Luckily for me, the story is incredibly short and 90% of the experience of New Dawn is in the gameplay. As I mentioned before, Ubisoft sort of repeats that same formula in most of their games. A map filled with distractions that artificially prolong the game experience. And surprisingly, I'm sort of here for it. I'm a big fan of Assassin's Creed games doing the same tasks over and over, approaching enemy bases in a different way each time. And I found myself falling into that habit with New Dawn. The outpost system where you can take over enemy bases, then can actually reset them to earn more resources is brilliant. It encourages gameplay in a way that doesn't make it feel like a pointless grind. And it fits Far Cry's whole chaotic sandbox vibe. Treasure hunts were a highlight for me, a pile of supplies that have been hidden from sight. Reading a note from its owner is the only clue you receive. I honestly just wish there were more of these. Then you have the expeditions, little side missions where you hop on a helicopter, visit really cool new maps, steal a package and then run for your life. These are chaotic fun, like mini Far Cry road trips, and honestly wish the game leaned more into this style of gameplay.
Let's get the hell out of here!
You start off struggling to overcome enemies, but the more you unlock, the better your weapons and abilities become. Ubisoft decided to go with the whole health bars and enemy levels, which means you can unload an entire clip into a guy's face just for him to shrug it off like you sneezed on him. I thought this was Far Cry, not Destiny 2. It forces you to prepare which weapons you will bring, and it adds a little bit of excitement and stress into the game when the stronger enemies are called in for backup. The shooting itself is honestly fun. Guns feel punchy and different from one another. Choosing weapons for a stealthy approach like the bow or certain silence guns changes the game completely. I started off just running in with a weapon that shoots saw blades at everyone and ended the game as if I was Sam Fisher infiltrating a top secret organization. However, while the stealth does work, it's not exactly the best system. Somehow enemies always seem to know which bush you are hiding in. It makes the slow stealth approach almost pointless, because someone is bound to spot a dead body within a minute, alerting the whole base, causing them to find and track you down super fast. You can destroy alarm systems before that happens, but I wish when bases were on alert, they were more like Metal Gear Solid games, where they know you are around, but they have no idea where you are. Whereas in New Dawn, enemies seem to have some sort of forensic experience because they can tell where the bullet trajectory came from and they know exactly which direction you are. So yes, the gameplay is incredibly fun, but it ends up just becoming a game of like, how much side content can I do before I have to continue the boring main story? So here's the $1 million question. I put the ka-ching sound effect. Make sure you put that in. Can you become a fan of Far Cry by starting with New Dawn? Weirdly, maybe. On one hand, New Dawn has plenty of issues. Bullet sponge enemies, a recycled map, average villains, and a super short runtime. Add in the fact that it feels like a Barbie-themed Fallout game or like a hippie Coachella-styled festival, and I can see why fans maybe felt like it was a step down. But on the other hand, the formula, chaotic open world combat, and the freedom of storming an enemy outpost however you want is still here. And it's fun enough where I sort of want to visit some of the real Far Cry games to see how they are. In other words, if New Dawn is the bad one, then I'm excited to see the good ones. But what about you? Which Far Cry game would you recommend to start with? Would you recommend starting with Far Cry 1? Do you start with number 3? Or do you just start with Gustavo Fring? Either way, I'll be continuing this experiment with Devil May Cry next and playing Devil May Cry 2. So make sure you subscribe. My name is Mythic Vic. Until next time, see ya. Outro. We don't do outros anymore. There's no outros on YouTube, so this is the outro. You get to watch me drink some vanilla Coca-Cola Zero sugar.